So, ladies and gentlemen, this is so cool. We have Eric Hecker with us again. Now, Eric was in Antarctica for what, over a year?
366 days straight, Rex.
Yeah, so I was right. Over a year and a day.
Hello. A year and a day.
So to get that opportunity is huge. And I want to discuss with you, ladies and gentlemen. So Eric has shared with me some documentation of something that is used for what they show as one purpose, but there's actually another purpose for it. I don't want to get into too much detail. You need to listen to this podcast in full. You need to watch this because this documentation is going to blow your mind. And we're going to look at a slideshow of Eric actually in Antarctica and his experience out there. We're going to talk about a ice neutrino detector.
The ice cube neutrino detector, correct.
Whoa. That's what I'm talking about. So great to see you, man. I like your background. How the heck are you?
I am doing fantastic, Rex. I'm currently just really jealous because I've been watching your videos lately, traveling all over the place, and we're just starting to thaw out up here in Alaska. So I'm just getting to fire up my spring fever, but we're thawing fast, so I'm very excited about getting out and about, and I'm with the camera as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Dude, we need to definitely have a lot of interaction while you're out there exploring with the camera, because there's stuff in Alaska that I can't get to, and there's stuff out here that you can't get to. So let's collaborate and let's.
Oh, sure. We can do like live simulcasts from out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. We'll hook up to the 5G Starlink or whatever it's called, and people are like, you're getting 5G, and we'll be like, yes. We'll have 5G protective gear on though, folks. So don't worry about it. We'll be okay. So we're gonna do a screen share now. Okay. And this is. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to waste your time. Your time is valuable. And here we go. Antarctica. This is a slideshow that you're going to share with us. And we're on slide one of many.
Yeah, there's tons in here. The front end here is Antarctica in general. And I'll just preface this that this was a presentation that was built by my girlfriend, and both of us had the privilege of sharing it at a school in the Philippines that was looking to just learn about our experiences at the South Pole Station. So this here is basically just Antarctica in general, and you can see that it is massively bigger than the United States, and a lot of people just never really get to see that perspective. So it's kind of a pretty solid shot.
Jeez, it's even bigger than Texas.
Yeah, slightly.
You'd get that joke if you lived in Texas.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then you can see right there, you see South Pole Station, pretty much dead center of the picture. You can see McMurdo is the star underneath. And they are, as a crow flies, if I remember correctly, they're about 950 miles apart from each other. And that shows all the zones of kind of regions by nation observance, is the pie chart there on the left, and then on the right basically shows all the different base locations, more or less, or I'm sorry, auto weather stations. But that's where people will wind up working in the field, and they'll call it an auto weather station, but there's more or less some small facility there that gets tended to.
How many people are typically in Antarctica throughout the course of a year?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that one. I never, ever inquired about the other programs when I was there, to be honest. I mean, I was pretty preoccupied with what I had to do, and I had certainly enough intrigue in my close proximity that I didn't need to start asking about what was going on the other side of the continent.
The reason I ask about that is I'm just asking because of the size of Antarctica, right?
Yeah.
It's massive. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I would be surprised if there was 100,000 people.
Oh, I'd be very surprised. Yeah. I'd be surprised if there was 10,000 people.
So put that into perspective, folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. Like, what's out there? We don't know.
Oh yeah, it is so sparsely populated. I mean, it's got to be the most sparsely populated geography on the planet by area.
Absolutely. So
now you're looking at dead bottom center of the Earth. BDC, bottom dead center. And this is a great example. I've said before to folks that it was an old sailing term. They would say, if you go below 60 degrees south, there's no law. If you go below 7 degrees south, there's no hope. And if you go below 80 degrees south, there's no God.
So that's where hell is.
Basically, I lived at 90 degrees south for a year, and we used to joke around and say it's not quite hell, but you can see it from here.
Jeez. You can see it from here. It's colder than we expected.
Yes. Yep. And you're also from that position, we would also call it the bunghole of the earth.
Cornholio.
Yes. And that's the inside of a Herc. Okay, so there's numbers. 5.5 hours from Christchurch to McMurdo by Herc.
Oh, that looks like a cozy ride.
Yep. That actually looks like my flight. That's a guy from my crew in there. I just recognized someone on that left side row, the blonde guy in the first red jacket. Yeah, I work with that guy. He was on my crew. And then the other guy on the right.
Pretty easily. He looks like he's asleep.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't even care, man. I can handle this.
Yeah, at those temperatures and oxygen levels and stuff, sleeping isn't really a problem. You almost wants to put you out. I mean, you know the drill with hypothermia and cold exposure. That is actually part of the symptom.
Ah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the C-17 that
Yes, sir.
provides transportation. So this is what you were on.
Yeah, the C-17s are actually the preferred flight from Christchurch to McMurdo, and then the flights from McMurdo to Pole are the Hercs and smaller craft.
Now, what was the biggest mountain out there that you saw personally?
Erebus, the biggest mountain the biggest mountain that I saw from the deck, from the ground, was Erebus when I was at McMurdo. But when we flew to Pole, I was very lucky to get I got to jump into the cockpit for the departure and most of the flight. So I had wonderful views of the Trans-Antarctic Mountains and such. So I saw tons of mountains in the flight, but I didn't identify any of them. So I just know I saw like all of them.
Wow. And
I have great pictures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I've seen these coats. These coats are about $1,000. I think these are Canadian goose or Canadian down.
Yep, Canada
nice
goose
coats.
They are nice coats. They keep you warm. I didn't use those. As a tradesman, I found them way too cumbersome. And they're meant to keep you warm. They're not meant for working. They get destroyed fast if you start trying to work with those. We were trash.
What did you use? Like, what did you use?
I use Blackladder gear. Blackladder is a Swedish workwear company that I actually swear by. And their work pants and jackets are insanely awesome. And I mean, granted, there was layering and stuff like that as well. Mattered a lot. But, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, straight up, Blackladder workwear works harder than anything I've ever come across. And I've worked in some harsh environments.
I'll have to look into that. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend them more. Blackladder. And I get nothing for that.
Okay, so we're looking at McMurdo.
That's right McMurdo right there. Yep. And I would always say that McMurdo is basically it's like a large mining town being run by a small college fraternity.
Fun.
Yeah, and that's the other base. That's the New Zealand base, Scott base. Drastically smaller, just those green buildings there. So and that's a small drive from McMurdo.
Okay. Now, is McMurdo the biggest base in Antarctica that we know about?
Yes, absolutely. It is the biggest base in all of Antarctica throughout all of the programs.
So, and if the wintertime there's 150 people here, and we take all the other locations that we were just looking at, and we say, okay, well,
right. South Pole is one of the other big facilities where we were rocking with 49. Even the other American station, which is Palmer, which would wrap up the American program in its entirety for the winter. I believe they're at like 20.
Wow. So we're talking 5,000 people.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it breaches 10,000 at all. And it could absolutely still be under 5,000 people in the wintertime. It's desolate.
Now, that makes me question, are there many military programs out there we don't know about, defense projects, secret projects, rich projects, because there's going to be very little oversight once you get in there.
Right.
But to get there, it seems as if, I mean, this kind of reminds me, I heard all these stories about the Grand Canyon, and people like, Rex, the Grand Canyon this, the Grand Canyon that, you can't go there. The Grand Canyon's freaking huge. Once you're there, I mean, they're going to have to be following you around somehow. Otherwise, they're not even going to know you're there unless they've got cameras set up you can't see. This is a big deal. I mean, just to put it in perspective. And the Grand Canyon's like a little blip.
Right. Yes. Correct. And like you suggested, you could go right to the Grand Canyon if you wanted to. You could drive there, park your car, get out, walk right in, and yes, they'd have to tell you to figure out how to get you out of there. It's not so simple with Antarctica.
So, however, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say it's no man's land. You can't. It is like so off limits. And then let's say even if you do have somehow the wherewithal to get to the coast, what are you gonna do? Go inland? You know, who's gonna help you? There's some really cool vehicles. That's McMurdo equipment. We had vans that were tracked like that at South Pole as well. They were fun.
Yeah, that looks pretty heavy duty. And then everything's got tracks on it or giant wheels. And then what's this one to the right here? What happened there?
That looks like some sort of a piston bully. And if I remember correctly, they got hit with a storm, and they got whiteout conditions, and they couldn't see the flag line or the road, and they deviated off of the good surface. They got kind of stuck out there for a while, if I remember correctly, until the storm went away. Which is why you always have to travel with food and water and extra clothes in certain conditions. Different phase conditions, they mandate different regulations. I was accustomed at the South Pole. Basically, everywhere I went, I had a backpack of gear with me, and I always had food, water, extra clothing, extra batteries for my radio. It was just, you didn't go anywhere without it.
Now, I'm also thinking about, I'm looking at this here, how you had to traverse 1,280 kilometers to deliver fuel to the South Pole Station.
Yep. And that's the picture to the left of that one. That's that big rig with the trail. Yep, that whole thing behind it. They dragged that from McMurdo to South Pole as a cat train.
Jeez. If there was a public energy source that didn't require fuel that we use as fuel, it would really make these opportunities a lot more capable, because you wouldn't need the logistics train behind it.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. There's companies working on this stuff right now. I've been tracking the info on that too. Even the government has used mini nuclear reactors that they don't talk about. There are portable nukes that like CIA agents and stuff use. Like, we know that exists too. Like briefcase-sized little power plants. That way these guys can function in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I'm not suggesting that's what this cat train was using, but these technologies do exist.
And with that said, there were problems in the past. There was a nuclear, one of the cores had a meltdown, or maybe not a meltdown, but it had a lot of problems. And that was at McMurdo Station, wasn't it?
There was an issue with the reactor at McMurdo at some point. I do recall that historically. I have some pictures and stuff. But I don't remember the story of what the failure was. But there was definitely there was some sort of a discharge, was my recollection, and a decontamination had to ensue.
Okay, and now we're looking at the housing, which is
very, very, very military, basic, rudimentary, nothing fancy whatsoever at McMurdo, from what I saw. It was pretty run down.
And this is a wind turbine for the station there?
Yes. Yep, I believe they had a few of them up on, it might have been, I think they might have called it Observation Hill. I'm not certain.
They'd have to be heavy duty.
Oh yeah.
Now, and then I was looking at the cafeteria. So this is where people are going for food. This is where they're going for after hours.
Yeah, they had a couple of like coffee house and wine bar. They had a couple of options at McMurdo for places to recreate. And it was a 24-hour facility. So it was interesting to me, actually, being a tradesman. I never really worked in a 24-hour environment like that. And there was a lot of cooks and kitchen folk. And they were more or less the 24-hour staff. So it was very interesting to me to see, I'd be getting up for coffee in the morning and I'd see people getting hammered, because it's their happy hour.
So that makes me ask, were there people out there that met and fell in love? Were there couples that went out there? I mean, what was what was that like, man?
I'm currently residing with my girlfriend from South Pole. So yeah, you meet folks. Yeah, absolutely. I met her at South Pole Station for my winter season, and we're still together today. She's a really great gal, and life is hard, so it's good to have people that you can know that can get through the hard days. And a South Pole winter over is someone that can get through hard days.
Yeah, that's a strong woman right there, man.
She's a strong woman. She's a strong woman. Absolutely, for sure. I'm very blessed to have her and her support. She's an amazing gal, and you meet fantastic folks at the bottom of the world, oddly enough.
Well, and I would think that if you met somebody out there, you're going to have similar interests, and clearly that's a very unique opportunity. So, and
it's a very tight club, actually, because I haven't done this in a while, but I've done this before. As a polie, there's a network of folks, right? So if I'm traveling around and I just reach out to my network and I say, hey, I'm going to be in such and such area and I need a place to crash, are there any polies around? If there's a polie around and you're a polie or whatever the connection is, it's just a given. You're a good person and you can stay in my home. It's just
right on.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like, oh, I don't know you, but so-and-so knows you. Oh, what year were you there? Oh, I was at such and such year. Oh, did you know so-and-so? Oh, yeah, that's cool. What do you like for breakfast? I'll have it ready for you. It's just cool.
It's like a secret society, man.
In a way, it's like a secret friend group, It's like the person, what they're capable of. If they wintered at Pole, I mean, it's just like, what can I do for you? Like, come stay at my house. You're a good person. If something breaks, you know what to do too.
Yeah, right. Now, if I was to go to Antarctica, and now I would have to go through like all these, like what we're looking at right here. You've got to recycle your own poo, folks.
That's McMurdo.
Yeah, you got to recycle your own poop.
Yeah, they'll train you. They'll train you on the entire facility, the process. You do have to follow the rules. So those would be like rules and regulations. When you go to the garbage cans, it's not just one garbage can. There'll be a garbage can for burnables, for food waste, for glass. All of this stuff gets separated, and everybody's responsible.
Never-ending dishes. It's okay.
Yep.
The voice of Antarctica. Oh, so this chick's been out there for 5 years?
What's that?
This chick's been out there for 5 years?
Yeah, she did. She did 5 seasons at McMurdo, and then met me at South Pole.
Oh, is this?
That's
is this
my girl. Yep, that's Holly.
Right on, man. Yep. Right on. That's so cool. She's a radio personality.
Yes, she was the voice of Antarctica for a few years. She was in charge of flight following and coordinating like emergency responses and stuff like that. All the different camps out on the ice would have to communicate with her to let them know there'd be scheduled calls to let her know that everything was safe. If they missed the call, then she would have to fire up the emergency response and get them help. And she was basically the radio coordinator for field operations.
Oh man, right? Yeah, you got to make split decisions instantly. That's very important.
Yeah.
Now 5 seasons though, so she would go for a season, come back, go for a season, come back. Didn't stay for a year straight.
No, I'm sorry. She was doing summer seasons at McMurdo. She did summer seasons at McMurdo, so it was a shorter season. It would have been, say, like maybe August to January.
Okay, cool.
And then she would leave.
Now these are the quarters, I guess.
She had Lush Quarters because she had.
That's Lush Quarters
for 5 years. Yeah, after being there for 5 years, those are phenomenally lush quarters.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was sleeping in a tent at the South Pole when I got there.
Really?
Yes.
I was freaking tent.
They gave me a James Way tent. They were the Korean War tents, so it was like MASH, like just picture like MASH, but South Pole.
Freaking burr.
Yeah.
Burr.
I was not a happy camper the first week. the first night there, the wind was blowing so hard. It was actually it was an arched frame tent, like a weatherport style tent. So you have the flat front wall, and then the canvas just goes over the whole entire archway top. But I was in the front room, so the wind was blowing so hard it was catching the lip and separating the roof from the wall. And I woke up in the middle of the night because I felt like someone was touching my face. And I looked up and I could see the flap going up and the wind just coming right in. And I looked and it was snowing on me was what I was feeling. And I was like, what did I get myself into? I'm like, I'm at the South Pole right now trying to sleep and it's snowing on me. I'm like, this can't be good.
What the hell did I do, man?
Yeah, that was a big, like, what did I do moment.
Now, hiking trails here.
Yeah.
So how far could you go hiking? What was the furthest you ever went? And what was the greatest story you ever heard about somebody exploring Antarctica?
Oh, geez. You can hike a lot, I gather, at McMurdo. There's a lot of folks that I believe it's just, I guess the challenge is getting up Ob Hill in inclement weather. I think a lot of the stuff there seems to be like trying to do stuff when the weather is rough. And I don't know too many stories of what folks did at McMurdo, actually. At South Pole, I know one time One time at South Pole, this guy happened to come across a bag of ganja. and I said, you know what? You don't really get too many opportunities like this. And he came to me, and I was on the plumbing staff, and he said, is there anything that you can get that we can smoke this out of? And in the summer season, I had come across somebody had stashed like a marijuana pipe, a hash pipe, whatever you want to call it, a bowl. And I knew where it was. But it was when what we called the summer Jamesways, where all the trade facilities each had their own tent, a Jamesway, like an archway. That was like our shop. And in one of the summer Jamesways, I won't say because I put it back. Good luck finding it. I put it back when I was done. But somebody had hidden a pipe. And this area was shut down for months in the wintertime when this proposition had been fired across my bow. And I had just done my normal checkout routine. I was going to have to go out and go to some outbuildings. And I had told the dispatcher, who happened to be Holly, I said, I'm going to be going out to do my rounds. I said, I'm going to take a detour. I said, and it's probably going to add about an hour and a half to my time outside. At which point she like raised an eyebrow and looked at me really funny, and like it was like a don't ask type thing conversation, and she got the gist of it. And I said, I'll have the radio on. I'm going to follow all the standard protocols and things like that. I said, I'm going to add an hour and a half today. So I left and I proceeded to go, and I started to trek out to the summer Jamesways in the middle of wintertime. And this was, what post-holing is, right? When you're going through snow, and
No.
Post-holing is when you're not on top. You don't have snowshoes, so you go right down, all the way down up to your hip. And that's like what we call post-holing. So you go all the way down. So you're trying, I'm like literally like almost like digging and crawling through the snow because it's all like fresh, deep powder that no one's been in this for months. So I finally got out to the Jamesways, and it was really cool being in there, having they've been shut down for months, and I'm just in there with like a flashlight, and I'm breathing, and it's fogging the whole place up, and went to where I knew the pipe was stashed and pulled it out, chucked it in my pocket, and I remember it was a really stormy day, and I was on my way back. I was about halfway back, and I was thinking, I'm gonna be overdue on time, and she's gonna flip out. And I was crawling back, and I remember the radio going hot. She was, hitting me up, and I was not in the dark sector where you're not allowed to have radio communications. I'm not allowed to transmit. in the dark sector for radio comms. So I was not in the dark sector, so I was able to respond back to her immediately. And, I made up, because everybody can hear, that I'm overdue. So I had to make up some bogus, reason on air and then get back in. And she was like, you made me do that. She's like, because I knew, I can't get mad at her for outing me like that because, she's doing her job. She's a stickler. But I remember that was a funny one.
Oops.
Yeah.
The things you do.
Yep.
Jeez.
And it wasn't even.
They don't have grow rooms out there.
What's that?
I'm surprised they don't have like giant grow rooms for vegetables, of course.
Well, they actually we did. We had a phenomenal hydroponic greenhouse, and the fact of the matter was the general consensus of the population was we would have rather have been growing stuff, but there was apparently a particular person in management that said no. Word on the street was it could have came down.
No.
Yeah.
No, man, you gotta keep focused. Now this is a bike. I mean, talk about a bike ride, dude.
Yeah.
Was that your bike?
No, they had station bikes there.
Oh, like people could actually ride bikes out there?
Yes. They had a rec room. They hire people to be a rec room dispatcher. I mean, literally just to go to McMurdo and distribute recreational gear. That's a job. Keep tabs of it.
Could you take? Was there ever conditions where you could get on a bike and just ride?
I would imagine so. There was a guy at the South Pole that rode a bicycle almost every day of the year.
Outside. Dude,
skied,
that's rad.
Biked. Yeah, skied, biked. They had a bike there. They got skis. There was a guy out there. He was an Italian guy, and he would be out cross-country skiing. Would scare the hell out of me sometimes because I'd be in like whiteout conditions, 3/4 of a mile away from the facility, and I'm just trying to get to where I got to go, and all of a sudden this guy will go right across in front of me. We didn't even see each other, and hey, how's it going? You don't think you're going to hit traffic in the South Pole in the wintertime, 3/4 of a mile away from the facility. It's just the weirdest thing when you're like, oh my God, there's someone out here.
And they're not a part of the station.
Well, he was with us. He was an Italian guy at our station.
Okay. Well, so is that the guy right here?
No, that's my girlfriend.
No, I was sorry. I got to get some new glasses, dude. There's pictures like that big, so
I understand.
Right there, brother.
I understand. I'm just teasing.
It looks like it. Yeah. Now I can go. All right, sorry. So let's hold on a second. I need to go. I'll be right back.
There you go.
So what is this?
That's Happy Camper School. So this is a training that they provide to a lot of folks that show up in Antarctica, and the idea is that if you have to ditch a plane or helicopter or something, they're going to teach you how to survive until help comes. So this is one of the techniques that they have where you can take like those Akio sleds. It looks like one of those drag sleds that they put over a trench as a roof, and then you just take some gear, lay it down on the deck there, and hopefully you got an excess amount of gear to do stuff like that. But that's what they do. They start teaching you how to go through the resources that you have available, and then what could you figure out? If the plane crashed and you had this type of stuff here, what would you do? And they start teaching those things.
So Mount Erebus.
There you go.
This is the big.
Yep, that's an active volcano. Yep,
active volcano.
That's an active volcano within view from McMurdo, and it shoots out what they call Erebus crystals. They're very special rock, apparently.
Huh. Interesting. Now,
there's the ice caves, and
now how big are these ice caves?
They change. They're in flux and motion. The pressure ridges. Every year it's all different because the sea ice is coming and going, and it's in motion.
Are there caves out there that go on for like not actual ice caves, but caves themselves that go on for hundreds of miles or miles?
I'm not certain about actual Earth caves, and that's an interesting misconception with a way that a lot of folks look at Antarctica. I mean, I get the perspective of the view that they're seeing. But it's an aerial view from very high up, and they're looking at the surface of Antarctica, which for the most part is ice, and say 2 miles over the ground, the surface of the ice. So it is in motion. It reserves the right to move and change, and you can have a hole that's in the ice, right? It would first have to go down 2 miles before you get to the dirt. And then if there's a cave that happens to go to a tunnel into the below geography, well, then we're getting into what is considered, the secret underground stuff in Antarctica. But that's what we mean by underground. Like there's 2 miles of ice. People forget that. So seeing holes in it and anomalies, I mean, the surface of the ice gets really peculiar and changes all over the place. I very rarely see a picture of stuff when people go, "Oh, what is this on the surface of Antarctica? It looks like and it's like, well, if you could say it's going to look like that, or it could, if you change the camera angle, it'll look like something else as well. And 6 months from now, it's going to look like something completely different when the ice makes it look weird some different way."
Exactly. Now there's one photograph that somebody sent me, and I don't have the coordinates, so I can't duplicate this, but it's clearly an artificial structure. It's an obelisk, and it's supposed to be the size of 2.5 Empire State Buildings stacked together, stacked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I could verify that. It looks like Antarctica, but it's definitely a Google image, and it's in the ice. It's in the ice. And it's fascinating. But there were a couple places out there in Antarctica that said something about obelisks, and I find it fascinating how many of these mountain.
And don't get me wrong, I don't want to be a discounter. I absolutely believe in all possibility and all strangeness. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. Of course. Yeah.
No, of course, bro.
Yeah, I'm investigating because I believe there is stuff going on. I haven't seen a picture where I'm like, oh, that's such and such, and that totally means it's a UFO. Like I have seen pictures. I have seen pictures where it's obviously man-made structures, right? There's obviously a man-made structure, and they're like, oh my god, what is that? It's unnatural. Yeah, no problem. It's unnatural. It's probably an automatic weather station. And you can look it up, and you can find it on the map. I mean, the map that we just had up top showed you that the continent is peppered with all kinds of structures. If you zoom in on any one of those things, you're going to see something unnatural on the landscape.
Right, absolutely.
It doesn't mean it's a top secret hidden anything.
Now, I want to find real quick. I want to find this this image and share it with you. I don't remember if I showed it last time or not, but I'm going to show it again anyway. I'm pulling it up here. Give me stand by. And there it is. Here it is. Okay. New share. Oh, dang it. He's being slower than... Okay. Are we there? No. There we are. Okay. New share. This is it. Right there.
Got you.
I mean...
It's on its side.
Yep.
And it's on the surface.
Yep. And look at the...
I can tell you one thing. It's not a rock.
Not a rock. I doubt it's ice. It doesn't look like ice to me. It looks like some...
Is this... Do you know... It looks to me, first and foremost, like it's in sea ice.
It does.
Looks like it's in sea ice. That could be an iceberg that's just a huge... Happens to be this huge, freaky, weird-shaped iceberg that now has fresh sea ice around it. That seized it in.
It could be.
Totally could be.
It... however, have you ever seen one that is of that size and color? I mean, now don't get me wrong. I've heard people say before, I've heard people say nature doesn't work in straight lines. Well, that's BS because I have plenty of quartz crystals that are in straight lines.
And it can be a straight line thing. Yeah, you're right. Especially when you're dealing with ice, it's possible that it could calve and clip that way. And then also, don't forget, like even when you look at the shadows on there, right? So don't forget that actually even the sun and the way things shade, it could actually cause things to melt in a way that makes them more linear. Look at how that sun's hitting that right now. You don't think that's having an impact on how it melts and it's going to keep making that line more rigid?
Absolutely. It could be, would you say 50-50, 70-30, 70% ice, 30%
It looks to me like dirty ice. It looks like dirty ice that might have fallen off from, say, like a cliffside or something. It looks like it has dirt content in it, and it could have calved off of a land area. It could have been scraped underneath. You know, the bottom side of the glacier is not the same color as the lower side of the glacier when it calves off and hits the water. So this could be a bottom side chunk of a glacier that sheared off and dropped into the sea. And then sea ice, the temperature drops, and then sea ice forms around it. That's what it looks like to me.
Dude, I'm digging your analysis 100%. I would say about, now I'm going to go 80% ice, 20% 20% stone. I'll go 80-20. Before I was like, before I was 80% convinced it was stone and 20% convinced. Now I'm just, you just flipped it around. But
it looks like dirty ice.
Looks like dirty ice. Yep. Dirty ice.
Yeah, that filthy ice.
They didn't recycle their poo. That's how it got like that. They didn't get their poo out of there.
Well, we do have dirty ice at the South Pole because we don't recycle the poo at the South Pole.
Ah, cool.
It goes.
Let it go with the ice.
It goes in. Yeah. Ice. Yes, exactly. It's a poopsicle.
Don't eat the dark ice.
Mm-hmm. We would actually joke around at South Pole that they're gonna, like a million years from now, when the glacier finally takes our what we called the poopsicle, it'll eventually calve off, and that DNA will go back into the ocean. And our hopes was we would repopulate the world with our poo, Rex.
Well, that's important. It really is. Things to look forward to, man.
The conversation you'd have in the middle of the winter at the South Pole.
That's not even that weird. I mean, you could have that conversation at a bar out in
you're like, I would have jumped right in on that one. You're like, I have an opinion on this.
I would have 100%. I was thinking about the beetle that in Egypt, the dung beetle that turns into the sun of the sun and the light. So anyway, even your own poo is beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. And it's getting very awkward in here, like the penguins waddle. It's quite awkward. And so these are emperor penguins, which are huge, right?
Yes, they're very tall.
How big?
I think they could be like 4 feet tall or 5 feet tall. The big ones, I believe. I have not been that close to them.
Dude, that would be fascinating. A bunch of giant penguins chasing you. They're like, and you're just like, what the?
The packs are huge. I have spoken to some folks that have gone near the I don't know if they call them flocks or herds, but the quantities they said was really just like beyond belief to see so much of something in one place.
Kat said, I wonder how big they are too. Halo. All right, so let's go to the next one here. This is will you look at that foot? You know what they say about penguins with big feet?
Yes.
Big shoes. So, hey, look at that. That's a great picture, man.
Yeah.
So this is
so these the scientists would basically track the seals. So this was if I remember correctly, they had to go out and check some trackers that day.
Nice. And then there's the infamous coat that you say you do not recommend.
The big red. Not for workmen. It's good. Scientists and non-tradesmen would be very fond of the big red because they would just be more or less passing through outside or doing things observationally. If you were working, it would actually become too hot, and it was too big and too cumbersome. So if believe it or not, you can get acclimated to some seriously cold weather. By the end of winter, I didn't really need that much gear on when I went outside. I had throttled down a lot of my weight. But I guess in the worst case scenario, wintertime, I'd be wearing like probably 30 pounds of gear to go outside. But dude, you don't want it to be cumbersome to like move as well. So like with all the weight to begin with, you don't need like the extra volume. You feel like the Michelin Man trying to get stuff done, and you're trying to sling tools and stuff like that. It's just, it throws your ergonomics off to have like all that extra mass.
This looks really cold.
She's always cold. That's a piston bully there. They're a lot of fun, and it looks like she's at some remote camp there.
I mean, she's only wearing a jacket, man.
Yeah, she's trying to be tough in that picture. She wears more than that here.
I mean, wow. What the heck?
Yeah.
Didn't you say you could freeze to death if you're out there in a jacket like
This
that?
oh, this is McMurdo. This is probably this could be. I mean, if I go off of what she's wearing and what I know of her, it's probably like 20 or 30 degrees there right now, and she's acclimated to that. Yeah, it's nowhere near South Pole temperatures.
Okay. Now, and then what we're looking at here is
inside that hut is they drilled that ice hole and they're doing research on the fish. That little hut that was just shown before, this would be inside that hut, and then they drill the sea ice, and then they start doing their research. And that's what happens a lot over at McMurdo, is a lot of stuff because they're right there at that edge of the McMurdo is actually, it's Ross Island. It's off the coast of Antarctica. Technically, it's an island, but it's an island that's jammed in up with sea ice. So they breach the sea ice to study stuff.
And then they're trying to get a 5G signal out here, right?
There you go. Get
a 5G signal. They're like, oh, we're going to connect at any time. We're going to have higher internet speeds, lower latency.
Yep. And there's the king seal down there yelling at him. We don't want you here. No 5G.
No 5. It's 5G free in Antarctica, folks.
There you
Actually,
go.
it won't be for long because the satellites can get it. So.
Oh, I'd imagine, yeah. They don't have much satellite. They don't have much for satellite connections there. Most of the satellites run around with the equator. The South Pole is obligated to use other systems that go pole to pole, and there's not a lot of them.
Pole to pole?
Right. It's a completely different orientation.
Wow.
Yeah, there's all different. Yeah, there's different satellite things going on.
Now
you can see. That's the tracker.
Oh, they're tracking them.
Yep.
Looks like he's hooked up to a big motherboard.
There you go. That's how they steer them.
Yeah. So, and it's sleeping right there. They put it to sleep.
There you go. Yep. Well, no, actually, that was just resting. I don't believe they have to put them to sleep at all. I don't think they do drug them. I'm sorry. That one's just resting. See? There you go. They hold them down. They put them in a figure 4. And then the scientist just weighs them, glues the thing on them.
This would be fun to hook up some cameras to weather balloons.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's very doable at South Pole. They would launch weather balloons every day. I didn't think of that, but I could if I went back with a different camera. The other camera I have, I wouldn't have trusted it.
Let me ask you a question. If I paid for it and involved you, do you have any contacts out there that we could send the gear to? They could launch them with the weather balloons, then send us back the footage.
It's extremely possible, but you're looking at massive timetables at this point. They're in winter. You can't get anything now until you can't even deliver anything there until say November.
Well, what about FedEx?
Yeah.
I'm joking, man.
Yeah, nothing's making it to South Pole right now until say November.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
but it's something we can plan for. I mean, that would be the thing is if you want something to happen down there, now is the time to start planning because it won't happen until the next summer season, which is our fall season.
I'll definitely help sponsor that, and let's put something together for that.
Could be fun. Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah, I have a lot of connections in the program still.
Great. Okay.
All right, you did. We'll see what happens after today's show.
Oh, you're going to get more after this. They're going to love it. They're going to love it, man. So
there's the inside of a Herc.
A Herc.
Yep.
Like a Hercules?
Herc. LC-130 Hercules.
Okay.
Yep, they're a very strong, tough plane. There's a picture of it on the runway, the skiway there behind the facility, and then looks like probably Holly right in front of it. And there's a nice aerial map of the South Pole Station there. The construction Jamesways, that's what I was just talking about. So you can see that distance. So you have the elevated station in the picture on the lower right. You're actually looking at the back side. There you go. Of the elevated station is on the top of that picture. So that's where I was walking from. And then the bottom of that picture, you see where it says construction Jamesways. So those are shut down in the winter, and we wouldn't have gone past. So say like the middle of that picture is the summer camp, and all of that other stuff to the rear of that would have been all shut down and left for the elements. And that's basically where I went to go find that thing.
Dude, that doesn't even look like it's a mile away.
Yeah, and it was buried too. So like when I got there, it was buried. Like I had to dig out a door. Like it was just, I had to dig out a door, get in.
And it's like what, like maybe a half mile?
It's maybe a half a mile away. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just puts into perspective how intense.
That's how hard it was to get there. Yeah. It took me about an hour and maybe actually it was probably closer to 2 hours actually for the whole entire trip to hike out to there. I probably spent a half an hour hanging out in there. And then the middle, like from the middle to the facility was an easy walk. There we are outside.
You're a lucky guy, man. Look at this. Fewer than 200 women have wintered at the South Pole out of fewer than 1,500 people total. Yep. So, I mean, that's a pretty, the odds aren't great, dude.
No.
If you're a guy out there and you want, you know what I mean? You got the odds are not great. So, you're a player, man. You got some moves, bro.
Thank you, sir.
I'm talking about.
The other screen right there says weather for South Pole Station. That was basically our lifeboat. They called that was just the rolling scroll. And you can see there, it would give us our info. So before you went outside, you always checked the scroll because it would change. And you would also lots of times check with the weather folks and see, depending on how much time you're going to spend outside, if they anticipated changing the scroll. So on that day, you're looking at minus 69 degrees ambient with a wind chill of minus 109. Solid winds, 13 knot winds, and low barometric pressure. That's a fun day to be outside. High winds, low pressure, and it's relatively warm.
That's relatively warm?
For middle of the winter, for sure. In the middle of the winter, we were rolling around in the minus 90s in ambient. So once we got back down to minus 69, it was like, oh, this ain't so bad.
Oh, man. Wicked.
The lounge with the pool table, this is one of my favorite fascinating facts that I always forget. The South Pole Station has the largest repository of beta cassettes in the world and has some of the coolest stuff on there. Like old nature shows and science things.
Yeah.
Here's the greenhouse.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jeez, look at that.
Nice library.
This is the power plant.
Yes. That's the actual main power plant. They have two full-size generators and a peaker, a smaller one. So more or less we run off of one generator while the other one can be serviced or repaired. And then the peaker kicks on in case there's a max demand increase. So the peaker will kick on to help out. Ta-da! A Jamesway room. That's what I started. Yes. Yep.
What the?
Yep, that's what I slept in. A freaking tent. A wood wall and a canvas insulated tent. They had a hot air system in the tent, but the duct ran along top dead center of the tent. So it didn't really do anything. Ta-da! That man right there has spent more winters at the South Pole Station than anybody in the world. He holds the record, I believe, now at 15 winters.
Dude, what goes through the mind of somebody that spends 15 winters in the South Pole?
Oh, Robert has a lot of wonderful thoughts. He is an amazing intellect and very funny man. He was on my fire brigade team, and he was a champion. I loved having him on my team. He was a great guy.
You would 100% have to be a champion and have to control your thoughts and have to be very calm and collected in scenarios to make it one season, let alone 15. That's remarkable.
Absolutely. He is a champion of intellect. My hat goes off to him. Now you're seeing some stormier shots. You can see that the flag line that she's holding on to starts to disappear a little bit in the distance as the conditions get whiter and whiter. And, looking out in the distance, you can't really see anything. So it gets hard navigating there. That's a before and after for me, where I had gotten some exposure under my mask and got bit up a little bit, which would happen. There's the geographic pole on the left, and the main entrance to the station right there. They call DA, Destination Alpha, which is the front door for where people come in, versus Destination Zulu, the back door, where we bring the trash out.
Okay. Now, so what's the difference? Geographic, ceremonial, and magnetic.
Geographic is the one on the left there with the flag and the posing beautiful woman named Holly. And then to the right, you see that's a Twin Otter, Ken Bork company owned, I imagine. And that's the ceremonial pole. So the one with all of the flags. And the ceremonial pole, they just basically keep in front of the station so that people can take a picture and they have a backdrop of the station. And they have all the international flags from the leaders of the Antarctic Treaty there. So when the dignitaries come, and they do, that's where they go to take their picture, is by the ceremonial pole, as a group and stuff like that. And then they all go to the geographic one anyway. So they get the geographic shot as well. And that's the axis of the world. The geographic pole is where the world is spinning, literally. And then you have the magnetic, which is way over off the coast at this point, because the magnetic South Pole is in movement and has been moving for quite some time.
Substantially fast over the past several years too.
Absolutely. It is speeding up. But that the cool thing about being by the geographic pole, Rex, is that you're just a sidestep away from it being 5:30 somewhere. Time zones. They all meet right there.
Time zone.
Yeah. Just step to the left and it's happy hour.
It's always happy hour there. Oh, geez. Or you're going to be depressed. That's for sure.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, we had substantial training before we went there, and a lot of it was psychological, and a lot of it was on how to keep morale up and how to identify signs of depression or problems in your coworkers, and ways to constructively mitigate the problem. You know, we would get trained on this stuff. You know,
absolutely. Now, this is saying that Antarctica is a great place to study the air, the universe, and it has the cleanest air in the world at the South Pole, huh?
Yes, absolutely. It is pure, uncontaminated air. The Arrow building, the Atmospheric Research Observatory, is there for that express purpose. And you're not even allowed to drive all the way up to the facility with a snow machine. The exhaust from the snow machine will be detected and screw up their experiments. So there's a parking lot that when you're approaching Arrow, you have to leave your sled at. It's that precise. And they'll know if someone's screwing around and doing something. Their detectors will go off and they'll get mad about it.
Okay. Wow. So very sensitive detectors then.
Absolutely. They can the most minuscule amount of stuff. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. That's the South Pole Telescope, and that is a really, really great shot on the bottom left. The way the auroras look actually on the lower edge, and then the stars up there. That's a great shot. I bet you the guy the winter overtook that. He's the only one that could pull that off. It's one of the problems with South Pole is that what I saw there in the wintertime, it's almost impossible to catch it as a photograph. So it's you can't really show people what you saw, but that was very close. The problem is that you have to leave the lenses open so it washes things out a lot. So you can get a lot of the colors and a lot of the idea, but in reality, when you're there, it's way more crisp and clear, so the density is more apparent. You see more stars, a lot. There's some South Pole weather balloons going off. Yep, that's our cryo facility.
Okay.
Yep. And on the left-hand side in that cryo is where we would fill up our SCBA tanks for the fire department, the brigade. But they would put these balloons up, I think, twice a day, once a day. I think it might have been once in the morning, once in the afternoon. I can't recall. Or maybe it was once per 12-hour shift. Might have been a night guy and a day guy.
Now, this is the South Pole Neutrino Observatory, the ice cube neutrino detector that we were talking about.
That's going to be in the next slide. Yep, you're looking right now at the back end of the weather facility still, but the next slide, I think, is the neutrino. There you go. That's the neutrino lab.
No.
Yep. So the picture there is showing you on the top right, it's the neutrino lab, okay? But what's going on in that picture is the dots are all the different holes that go all the way down 2 miles to the ground. So there's this array in the ice that the lab sits in the middle of, and they're all wired back to the lab. So there's these strings that go down from the surface all the way down, and they have DOMs on them, digital optical monitors, and there's what it says 5,160 digital optical modules suspended along 86 strings embedded in a cubic kilometer of ice beneath the South Pole. It detects neutrinos through the tiny flashes of blue light called Chernikov light, produced when neutrinos interact with the ice. Basically, it makes a blue light. When a neutrino comes into contact with the nucleus of an atom in the ice, it turns into a muon and then makes a blue flash. And the DOMs are detecting the blue flash. And in the array, when all the DOMs can, I guess, identify which direction the flash came from, it allows them to orient and make a trajectory so that they can know where things came from. And then the idea is that they then communicate that information. So they say, hey, a neutrino came firing in from, coordinate X out in the cosmos. So everybody turn your telescopes and look over at coordinate X and see if we can figure out what the source of the neutrino was. And that's effectively what they're saying is the science. Neutrino detecting.
So do you think there's more to it?
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do. One of the things that I've learned from functioning in government programs, I was in the submarine service for a bit in 1994, and the idea I noticed there, I've worked as a tradesman in all kinds of peculiar facilities, i.e. South Pole Station now added to the list, and a bunch of places. And what I've learned is that when the government invests in stuff, they always have what they're selling it to you as. Like, oh, we're going to invest because this is what it does. In my experience, it always does at least something else. They always get a double return on their investment at least. So I look for these things, and I pay attention to things everywhere I go, and I inquire, and I have the benefit of running around in many different compartments. And I've always found that most folks that stay in a compartment become a specialist. There's the drill hole. That gets them down. That's the initial bore. But the shoot, I just lost my track. Where was I, Rex?
You were talking about how
the double duty on the gear. So I always keep my eyes peeled when I go places because oftentimes it's really obvious that this stuff has the potential to be doing something else. And if you start asking people, they just get into full-blown denial. Oh, it couldn't do that, or it wouldn't do that, or even if it could do that, why would we do that with it? We have no reason to do that with it, And I've been in these conversations before, but this facility.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to jump in a minute because we must have some psychic listeners here in the live chat because Flobalob says, does it only receive? I don't know how radio telescopes work. I just assume it's used for listening. Wow.
Interesting.
Dude,
Interesting.
isn't that interesting?
What a great question.
What a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even the title says digital optical module. So it's like right there it says there's 5,160 of these DOMs. Each one has its own name and identifier, which I also find interesting. They do name them all. So there's like an R2-D2, a Chewbacca. Like everybody got to throw names on a DOM. There's all kinds of different DOM names. Some of them are funny.
Nice. So I'm looking at these things, and they're like just sensors with circuitry and
boards. And a big, massive array. I forget what they said the cost of this facility was because this is There's the picture on the right is one of the DOMs that's actually in the entrance at the South Pole Station. When you walk inside of DA, Destination Alpha, that'll be right inside on the door on the right. And that's one of the DOMs. So now look at this array. So now look at this. This whole system is integrated into the ice. 5,160 of these domes are submerged and embedded in the ice. You could look on the bottom. You can see the relative size of the Eiffel Tower to the antenna. There's a lot going on there.
So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, the Eiffel Tower is about 1,000 feet tall. And this is 10 times that. So it's like 10,000 feet approximately, would you say? Or even more?
It's 2 miles.
Oh, it's 2 miles.
It's 2 miles. Yeah.
5160 approximately.
There you go.
Close enough. Yeah.
Close enough.
Per mile. So yeah, over 10,000 feet. So that's intense, man.
Mm-hmm. I've actually stood over one of the holes when it was empty. It was creepy. It was really creepy.
So these are going down that far too?
Yes.
The holes themselves.
The holes go down that far. They drill the hole, and then they drop down a cable from top to bottom that's loaded with DOMs.
Whoa.
That you're looking at a giant antenna array. Each of those holes is a string with, from top to bottom, it's got DOMs on it.
Dude, I just had the ultimate thought here.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all heard theories about there being very powerful beings in the or under the ice in Antarctica. Like there's these entrances out there that lead to inner Earth or different locations and pockets of advanced species and advanced civilizations. So what if this is a way to communicate back and forth and send information, receive information without actually having to go down there? It could be just a network to obtain all that data and send it as well.
I have a lot of what ifs on what this facility could be, because to me, I mean, and again, I look at this one too because I was there, so I got to see the equipment when it was being assembled, and I'm aware that a passive device doesn't really need such gauge cabling. You know, so it seemed odd to me. It looked like a lot of power was required for this facility, and to me, passive and power don't normally go together. So I always found that odd when I was there. But
yeah, absolutely.
Like, look at that cable right there that they're pulling. You know, there was tons and tons of large gauge stuff going down into these holes, and I was like, wow, that's wild.
So what do you think, man?
There's the data tower. I think maybe you should pull up that other. Scroll through these. Well, there's another good shot of the underneath. Yeah, that's like that would be that's how they get a depiction. So when a neutrino hits a nucleus, what you're looking at in that digital color blast underneath, it's a rendition. They're putting it over the picture there. But normally on a computer screen, you'd see that digital explosion happen when a neutrino makes the blue flash, and what you're seeing is each of those DOMs is generating its input signal, basically. So the red ones would be the ones that were closest to the nucleus impact, and then the other ones would be farther away, and that way they can get a picture of more or less where inside the array the contact was, and then they can also, through that image arrangement, pull out the direction from which it came. On the passive tracking side. Oh, it looks like you have another picture coming up that shows that well. Yes, there you go. So that shows it firing up. That would be like a muon bloom.
So an energy level between 100 TeV and 10 PeV, what does that mean?
I think that's Tesla volts. They're very high energy. 100, I believe it's 100 Tesla, which is a neutrino is a very high energy impact. It is low. Okay, I'm going to use the terms that they told me when I was there. I know the science has gone further since, but when I was there, they were telling me that it is a low to no mass particle moving close to, at or beyond the speed of light. That's what they were working on at the time. Since then, they pretty much know that it is low mass. They do not believe that it is no mass. And there's, if I remember correctly, they found them going faster than the speed of light since I was there.
Wow. Okay. And then, so this is the South Pole. They said, wait, say faster than the speed of light, though?
Yes, there's a lot of things that can go faster than the speed of light. This is, a lot of people just don't know this. I learned this through my own research before I got to the South Pole, and then I got to discuss it with some of the greatest physicists in the world, and they agree with me. So the fact of the matter is, you can actually look up the stuff from, I actually found a video from the neutrino detector where one of the scientists from the program straight up on video is saying, yeah, you know, the stuff they teach kids in school about physics is wrong, but what are we going to do? Like, well, they already know everything's wrong. The standard model of physics is wrong. Everyone knows it. We're just in the process of figuring out the errors. The speed of light at 186,000 miles per second is a current standard. We get to observe it at that rate. In reality, that rate changes. And there are things that keep it at this rate, and there are things that'll make it go to another rate. If you ask a qualified physicist, what would happen if the speed of light what would change if the speed of light were to change? The answer is everything, because it can happen. The speed of light can change. We just don't know why it's where it's at right now.
Okay. Yeah,
it's been different. It's been different in the past, and they know that. Yes. Don't like talking about it because they don't understand the parameters for which maintain it at the speed that it's at. So they just don't talk about it. There's tons of stuff they don't talk about. The stuff that basically undermines all the positions that they have right now in science, which is easily underminable because almost everything is first and foremost based on the consistent speed of light.
Yep, absolutely. It's amazing how science continues to rewrite itself. And they're like, yeah, I love when they use science against people that don't follow the mainstream narrative. They'll say, well, we believe in science and you believe in a conspiracy. And I'm like, well, how many times in the past has a conspiracy been more accurate than the science? Because if you go back to the 40s, I mean, it was pretty popular for guys to be like, honey, you're talking back too much. The doctor has this great new opportunity. It's called a lobotomy. Let's go check it out. Let's do a couple snips. You'll be fine. And she's like, really? And she goes in and like, yeah, honey, it's science. But the conspiracy guy's like, wait a second. I don't know if you want to do that. But no, it's science. It's okay. No.
If you can't argue with science, shut down the NSF and stop writing grants for scientists. We already know everything. We know it all.
Yeah. You know it all.
We already know it all. We don't need scientists anymore then. We've got it all figured out. It's all dialed in.
Yep. That's it, man. Everything's answered.
Yes.
Sign up and pay. Just, yeah. All right. Well, a whole other podcast. We'll, Uncle Bill loves you, ladies and gentlemen. He loves you so much. So this is the South Pole.
Yeah, that actually looks like a shot of the Traverse because I see a tent out there. I think those guys are set up and posed. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's I see the tent and I see the fuel line in front of them. They are at the South Pole. They're parked. The vehicles are blocking the ceremonial pole. They're parked at the ceremonial pole, and the fuel line is behind them. So they're doing their little shot there. And the tent in the background is where rich people can set up. What's that?
Your mic, when you get that close to the mic, it's really loud.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just letting you know. Because
you got it. I'm a loud person. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, I am too, man. I get it.
That tent is a location where it's like a recreational summer camp. Visitors, that's where they set up. So when people who have the gumption to go to South Pole, that's where they go on that side. They're not officially allowed to enter the facilities, but if somebody can hire a plane to bring them to the South Pole, we'll talk them in for a landing and direct them to pull their plane over there, and whatever they're doing, do it over there.
So you can go to the South Pole, or you can go to these locations. You just can't get to the bases. There's like, nope, that's the line.
No, you can fly right to South Pole if you pay someone. It's like $40,000 a person.
Dude, I'm gonna save up for I'm gonna eat top ramen and live in a tent for a while, so I can do that.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now, what's this?
That was a practice airdrop. So C-17 is not landing at South Pole, but that's out past our antenna array, and they're doing a test run drop, which was, I believe it was the first time they had done a test run in a long time, which was very fortuitous because we had an emergency airdrop during our winter season for meds for someone that needed them, or he probably would have keeled over and died.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal. They had to dispatch. I mean, they had to fire up the fleet from Washington to get that plane from Washington State all the way to Pole. This was an actual appendectomy.
Wow.
Yep, we had a guy that got very ill, and the attendant there in the glasses with the surgical tools is my girlfriend, because she basically was the surgeon's apprentice for this operation, and it was about 8 hours long, and it was crazy, but he's okay.
Wow. Remarkable.
Yeah. The surgeon was in the CIA. He was a CIA surgeon.
That is so funny, because you know what I was going to say a minute ago? I was literally going to say, I'll bet your girlfriend also I was going to say Russian spy as a joke, but
yeah.
wow, man, my mind's picking up on something. I knew it.
The surgeon right there. So the surgeon right there, you'll get a kick out of this. He's a big deal. So have you heard of the Glomar Explorer?
No.
The Glomar Explorer was the Howard Hughes boat that was a cover story for research, but instead it had a big claw that opened up under the hull and was snatching sunken Russian submarines off the bottom of the ocean. Our surgeon was the surgeon for that boat.
Wow.
He had amazing stories. Yeah, he's been a CIA pilot / surgeon since like the 50s.
Oh, so he was the guy putting alien implants in people. They're like, dude, it was an alien. It was an alien.
Yeah, he was an old timer. He was the oldest person to ever winter at Pole, and he didn't give a darn anymore. He'd be sitting in the galley telling stories about, being in Laos and Cambodia, and I'd be like, Doc, we weren't ever supposed to be in those countries. He's like, I don't care. What are they going to do? Kill me?
Dude, what if he implanted you with an alien implant and you didn't even know it?
You have no idea, dude. I got serviced by him. I mean, he was my doc for quite some time.
So you probably have an alien implant.
CIA. I don't doubt anything. Once you deal with Raytheon, I mean, it's as far as corporations go, I consider them the devil incarnate.
Really?
Absolutely. I have no love lost on Raytheon. They're one of the most sinister companies I've ever had to deal with.
They've got some huge.
They're probably targeting me right now.
Yeah, they're like, get here. He's joking. He loves you.
Yes.
He's just joking.
I meant Graytheon. I hate Graytheon.
Yeah, he loves Raytheon. They're like unicorns and rainbows and happy, fluffy kittens and stuff.
Yeah, they make such nice things for this planet.
They're so lovey.
I love how all these military contractors get the contracts for South Pole and the facilities.
Dude, there's something going on out there that the public...
A lot of janitorial companies that could do the job.
A lot of what?
There's a lot of janitorial companies that could take on the contract. I mean, seriously. It doesn't take military contractors.
Dude, the janitors are the Russian spies. Yes. That's the secret right there.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is a live action role-playing game. All right. Any similarities are pure coincidence. Okay, so this...
There's a nice aurora shot. That's the elevated station is in the bottom shot. The mountain shot, that's got to be looks like Ob Hill at McMurdo, because I can see the dome up there. So that's one aurora is from the coast, and then the other one is right over the elevated station proper. You can see the red lights underneath it. Yep, that's a very bright time to be out with those auroras, and a clear sky would be a really nice time to be outside. What we got here? Oh, this is coming up to the meal. Our sunrise. See the sunrise hitting everybody? Our sunrise dinner. This was actually a really amazing day. Our cooks were fantastic. I felt really happy that they were able to take food out of an ice tunnel that had the stuff stored at minus 60 degrees and they could turn it into good food. It was an amazing miracle of culinary skill. But on the sunrise dinner, since we had been there for so long, most of us, they had put out an inquiry to the community. Hey, what would you like to have for dinner? Give us your ideas and put them in a box and we'll see what we think, right? So everybody wrote down what they wanted. And it turned out, instead of them choosing the best thing, they just wound up making every single thing that everybody dreamed up. So people wrote down whatever cockamamie thing they could think of. Like, I had a friend of mine, he wrote, like, he's like, I just want a big, huge, giant plate of, like, chili cheese fries. So, like, he put that in, and that's what he got. Like, I think I put in, I think I wanted bacon-wrapped filet mignon and coconut shrimp with garlic mashed potatoes, I think is what I had. That might be my plate, damn it. That might be my plate.
Looks delicious, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
I was really excited that he did that.
They actually had a 3D printer in the back. They just printed it all up.
Oh, yeah. You hear about that junk going on now?
Yeah. Using your own stem cells.
There you go.
Folks, you'll be eating yourself. How do you taste? All right, so.
And that's my actual that's my shot of Holly leaving. So I actually took that picture for her. And that's my artistry. But that's a Kembork limited air. And that's, oh, geez, what are those DC-9s that are hot rodded? So that's a smaller plane. Not even a Herc on skis. But that was the slideshow and the overview of some South Pole stuff and the Ice Cube neutrino detector as presented. Rex, as presented.
Nice. This is great. And then I think you've got even one other file you'd like to share.
Yes, because now we did the pomp and circumstance presentation of what I experienced, and
this is big.
Yeah,
Can you
this is big.
Again, or where was I had that and then I lost.
That was the one that was on my website.
Oh yeah, that's right. So we're gonna go to the website right now.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
as a matter of fact,
those of you that are joining us live on the website, leakproject.com, live-stream, free, unedited, uncensored. Deciphering My Experience is the website.
Go to deciphering.tv.
Right. This is it right here. You type in deciphering.tv. That's deciphering.tv. And
you can bring this up yourselves. So I just put this document on my website yesterday in the archives section. You can find it in there. It's under DOM document. Okay. So I know that I've been saying to this point that the Ice Cube neutrino detector is a passive detecting device because that's what I was trained and that's what I was taught. But because I am somebody who digs into other possibilities and equations, and that other departments sometimes like to Shanghai equipment and use it for other things, I was provided this document by someone in a program who informed me that this device is also used for other things. And this is the proof that they gave me, which shows that the DOM actually has a high voltage output as well at 2,047 volts per DOM over the 5,000 some odd DOMs in that ice. There's certainly something else available for activity at that position. And that's what I'm letting everybody know, is that something else is going on. In other videos that I have been in before, over a year ago, I had divulged to the world that the ELF, the extra low frequency system at the South Pole Station, that we were told is off, is on. It's on. It's not off. It's on. I know that. I witnessed that myself. So the ELF system is on, and the Ice Cube neutrino detector does more than just passively listen. It has the ability to power up and transmit outwardly. It does something actively.
What can it power up and transmit?
Power. That's the question. That's the question. That's the question that remains. All possibility exists always. Now we go from the direction of it's not just a listening device. It actively does something. So now we need to research that as a community, knowing a new truth. This is not a stationary listening device. What does this component now interact with? Like, I know the ELF is a component, right? I know the ELF could be a communications device, but I also know that ELF could be a component to a larger mechanism, depending on which department wants to integrate their component with this component for what they want to produce. Right? Like, I'm sitting here in a studio with simple studio equipment, and I know that if I take one component and I connect it to this one, it does this, but if I take it and mix it this way, it does that. So now we just have to look at what these components can do and what they're integrating them with. Because that's the direction that we're going to find the real truth at, is what's really going on. I mean, for starters, it's not just listening. You know, you have.
I think they're talking to. I think they're communicating with a different species. I think there's something there, dude. I can sense it. I can feel it.
I got you. You know, why there? Why would you be at the bottom of the earth transmitting? You know, it is a peculiar spot. I do know that when we move throughout the cosmos, whenever we approach another planet or moon, globe, whatever you want to call it, sphere, because of what we know of our piss poor knowledge of gravity and how to calculate it, the best way to go around the variable of having screwed up calculations is to enter the atmosphere and land at the South Pole of these places. To enter, basically, and functionally do their research at the South Pole of anything that they land on, whether it's the moon, Mars, whatever. They come in from the south end because of gravity calculations. So my thought makes me wonder if our facility at the South Pole isn't there geographically for that tactical purpose. Maybe they already know, they being off-planet stuff or even in-planet stuff, maybe everyone else is also aware. Maybe we're the last ones to find out that the best way to move in and out of an atmosphere is on the south end of the sphere. So maybe we're there observationally, and maybe it's like a damn control tower.
It could also be like a Stargate.
It could be a Stargate. It could be observational. Maybe it's there observational, and we're just passively listening. Oh, there's a ship coming in the atmosphere. Hey, transmit and let them know they're either not welcome or what's their welcome code.
This is fascinating. This is absolutely incredible, man. This is next level. This is above and beyond what I expected, and I expected great things. So thank you.
This is huge that this transmits. I mean, it's increasing the possibility of what this thing can be doing exponentially, and in many directions that people in these programs probably don't want being discussed.
Well, that's
if you look at the expense. If you look at the expense of this device, I mean, with the materials and stuff compared to even other buildings, right, at the same location. If you look at the cost of the elevated station, I think it was something like, I don't know, like $300 billion, soup to nuts, you know, when you're talking about getting things from all over the planet to there. But then you look at the neutrino detector and it's like $500 billion. And, you know, it's just like, it doesn't really make that much sense.
Dude, it's essential, man. Ice cube neutrinos. I mean, that's total. I totally get it. And
yeah, we totally need that much money.
I mean, it's important, right? Very important. And this is just completely coincidental, folks. I mean, don't worry, just entertainment, just a live action role play. Not
Yep. So this is the stuff that now, like in my, this is why I do what I do, Rex. This is why I'm trying to decipher my experience, because, you know, at the time when I was there, I didn't have all of that information, but I could certainly be looking around and as a tradesman going, you know, this is weird, this is off. You know, I'll just do what they tell me I'm doing, and I'll just listen to what they say it does. And I'll make sure that the lights are on, I'll make sure that the heat is on and that the doors are working, but all the while it's like, really? You know, this is intense. What is this place?
There's always something on the surface, and then what lies underneath? Well, you're going to have to uncover that as you do the research. And on that note, I got to say, awesome. Thank you. and your website. I'm going to give a link out to your website. I want to thank everybody for being here with us on the website as well. Our website, leakproject.com. You can always watch the shows live, uncensored, unedited at leakproject.com. You just have to join the live stream. If you missed the live stream, you want to watch the archives and exclusive content, you can sign up for a few bucks a month. And also check out our YouTube channel if you haven't already, youtube.com/Clandestine Time Lord. We usually do a few podcasts a day. And so if you don't get the notifications, make sure you hit the bell so you get all notifications. And sometimes gremlins will munch on subscriptions. So just check back every day. Just make it a part of your normal routine. And so what do you want to share this and finishing up this awesome podcast, dude? It's been rad.
Thank you. I'm just happy to be able to start getting this info out there. You know the drill, Rex, that there's people that are trying to help and spread the truth, and I'm one of those people. But you're aware that there are forces that are trying to stop folks like me from getting this information out there. I started a little over a year ago trying to spread my truth, and it wasn't really a good year for people to be coming out and trying to spread the truth in. So I've had a lot of resistance, but now I have my website, deciphering.tv, and I have more information like this coming out. This is the start of it. So I wanted to connect with you because I need to have an audience actually to say something. Otherwise, they'll squish me. If I start talking too fast and I don't have people listening, I'm going to disappear so fast. But I'm going to continue to divulge the things that I've learned in my travels. I have the website now. These are legitimate archives and documents. I have pictures, I have videos, I have actual firsthand experience, and the world is not the way that we have been presented, folks. There's other things going on. If you can't see that nowadays, oh my God, subscribe to Rex, subscribe to me, and we'll fill you in.
Now you're on YouTube too.
Yes, I'm also on YouTube for deciphering my experience.
Excellent. I'm going to leave the link to that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I'm on Facebook again now. Eric J. Hecker on Facebook.
Nice. Okay. And Eric, keep being the change you want to see, will you?
Absolutely, Rex.
Right on, brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here. The legend of Antarctica, some say, but now we know it's not. He's just legendary.